Time now for the voice of the land on the Big Play Network with your hosts, Kevin Arnold and Always Positive Jay.
I think the Browns, to lead off with them, I just did a radio show, and I call them the Analytic Browns based in Cleveland, Ohio. They are the Analytics Browns based in Cleveland. Mm-hmm. They are very analytical. They do the same thing every game. They're not very hard to decipher. My son and I usually say, this is about a good time for an unnecessary pass. And, they are doing things that just drive you crazy. And then you watch the Ravens on a Thursday night game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers run it right down their opponent's throat. They run it right down against our throat last week, which is vomiting. And yet we don't seem to want to do that as a Browns organization. They're very analytical. I think this is a very deep situation where I've seen 1-31 with Sashi Brown. And I feel like we're back on that train where it's like we hear answers, but you can kind of tell. It's like, so what's going to happen next game? We're probably going to pass the ball a lot. It doesn't make sense. We're going to trade Kareem Hunt. That doesn't make it's just depressing. It's
so we've dubbed them the Sunday fun suckers. They will literally suck the fun out of every Sunday from you if you allow them to.
Well, again, it's the analytical Browns that are based in Berea, Ohio, based in Cleveland. And it's sad. I think they need a huge culture change. And I actually, emotion is a part of football. I think in baseball, it's very analytical at times. Mm-hmm. And there's too much analytics at times. And there's certainly that in basketball. There's 82 games and there's 162. Football's only 16, 17 now, 17 of these guys. And I was blown away by some of the comments that everybody was talked about when Stefanski said, we've got our blinders on, and, it's another game. This is the Bengals. It's not the Ravens. It's not the Steelers. But it's the Bengals. It's a battle for Ohio. It's Sam Weiss, Boomer Esiason, Kosar my era. Tired of this, blah, 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 blah. These are big games. Win the games. The Battle of Ohio. Aren't you excited? I don't care about costumes and, just want to win the game. And it just feels like at times these press conferences it feels like we're more into it than the players are.
I don't even watch press conferences anymore. I refuse to because they don't tell you. Well, I don't think he's answered a question this whole year.
Yeah.
He just beats around the bush nonstop and then gives you the same thing over and over and over. And now it's just falling on deaf ears, I believe.
Yeah, I just think there needs to be a huge emotion push. And I actually think, I think if I were in there, I'd be like, I think we need to talk to Mr. DePodesta and really ask, are we going to do analytics Browns? Because analytics will tell you you're 2-5. You can do whatever you want to, and there's no emotion on this team. We need emotion back. And yes, these rivalry games are important to us. The Bengals is a rivalry. It's the Battle of Ohio. It is the Brown family, which our favorite team is named after, that owns the Bengals. There's a lot of history here. Not just another game.
How many Browns players do you believe actually know why the Browns are named the Browns? I can't tell you who, but I know someone that they had no clue. They're like, I have no idea. I thought it was just a color. I'm like, no, you don't even know the history of your team.
No.
And I promised I would never say who it was, but yeah,
we
always say I think every player literally should watch Believe Land. And I think they would get a greater appreciation for what this city's about and what the fans and why we feel the way we feel. Because they get upset when we boo, and I'm like, we boo because we care.
Well, yeah. I mean, the booing thing. Look, we don't want to boo either, but we're just frustrated.
Yeah.
Don't take it again. It's a business, not personal. We actually like you guys. It's not a dislike. It's just your performance on the field. That's how it works. Look, the Browns have a very great and rich history that doesn't get discussed, and probably because some of that is this is an expansion team that started in '99. Mm-hmm. Even though we have the team name, even though this history we know is much deeper than that, to a lot of people, it's just another team that was born in 1999. That's not the case.
The culture stayed with the fans, but didn't stay with the team.
Well, yeah. I mean, truthfully, the Browns are a team that's black and purple that plays in Baltimore, and it's very, very frustrating to watch them play.
Yes, I can't stand the Ravens because of that.
Well, I mean, it's just, anyways, I don't want to get too deep, but there is a huge thing for the Browns to me that this is not just a push the button, where it's like, hey, Deshaun Watson's coming back, and let's see what happens. I was one of the few fans, and I kind of got beat up for it, and it's fine. I thought I saw the writing on the wall after the Jacksonville preseason game. I just didn't see a lot of good things, and it really hasn't changed my mind throughout. I'm glad they beat Baker and the Panthers. I'm glad we beat the Steelers on Thursday night, but I just think there's a long road to go for this team when it comes to like how do you win games again, and how do you win a string of games to get into the playoffs. It's not about non-talent. It's not about anything like that. It's just simply about getting down to the foundation of. I feel like too much we're in an analytical team and not trying to win games and playing the emotion of the game. I just don't feel emotion sometimes in these games, and you can tell. Yeah.
No, go ahead, Andy. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, my last point is I just think this is a very special organization and team. And if anybody's ever listening to this, it really means a lot to us. And the Battle of Ohio is the Battle of Ohio. It's not Cincinnati. It's Mike Brown and Paul Brown's family coaching against us. It's a very, very emotional game. And I just feel like at times the Browns kind of walk through the emotions.
Mm-hmm.
I know they had a big argument after the game, which is good, but you'd like to see more of that in the field.
I think emotion is something we've talked about too. Emotion, you even watch after the game when the Browns post on Twitter or on social media the after game speech. Theirs looks a lot different. If you really look back in hindsight, it looks a lot different than other locker rooms. There is no emotion. It's the exact opposite than what does go on with the Cavs and what goes on with what went on with the Guardians and the teams wanting to be together and not just on the floor or in the stadium, but outside of it too. It just feels like everything is connected with two of the teams. This one is deeply disconnected, and we're just hearing the same talk after the game. If they lose this week, which we don't want to see, but if they lose this week, Andy, do you see some sort of the owners jumping in again and trying to make some big move in the bye week, or are we just going to keep going until the end, and that's where we'll see Black Monday for us again?
Well, I mean, you're heading towards Pittsburgh annihilation. I mean, you're going to go into Pittsburgh and things are going to go down. I don't want people to lose their jobs either. See, I don't like talking about this stuff because I know jobs are on the line.
Yep.
But frankly, there needs to be a huge check-in of I just feel like this organization is very driven by analytics.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of organizations that use analytics, but it feels like it's been forced a lot. Because this is not a disharmonized group. This is not groups we've seen in the past where you can tell the front office and coaching staff's not getting along. The Browns seem to get along.
Here's what drives me nuts about their analytics. I could go back and dude, I'm a public school kid, and I could look at the plays and be like, oh, when we run the ball more than we pass the ball, we score. So you'd think those numbers would add up for them, and they would see that the trend is, oh, when we run the ball more, it sets up play action, not pass to set up the run. It never works that way for us. It's never worked for us. If they look at, I don't see how they don't see the numbers where when you got an empty backfield on first down, when you have the best running back in the backfield, these guys are so much smarter than me. Why aren't they seeing what everybody else
That's
sees?
analytics. Analytics says you don't change things.
Yeah,
you
it drives
put
me
the
nuts.
Equations in and it spits it out. You don't change things. Kareem Hunt needs to be used in the fourth quarter late. That's crazy to me. Why don't you use Chubb and Hunt late in the game? Why not have both your star players in the game late in games?
What happened to screen pass to Hunt?
Well, screen pass to Hunt, but just simple decisions. And again, they do everything on formulas. They do everything on equations. And by the way, that's why I think sometimes you see good success in certain moments because their analytics does work. And if it's hitting on all cylinders, we've seen the results. But when something's off in the analytical equation, the Browns seem to have a very hard time making adjustments. They just seem to go back to and there's no emotions. It seems and certainly analytics is not teaching communication on defense at times.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I don't know. I just I don't know. I'm analytics out. This reminds me, even though they've won 2 games, it reminds me of 1-31.
It does. It really does. And there's some of the same people, and that was kind of the question mark when Andrew Berry was brought in. And yes, I know that he's made some good moves, but it seems like late round picks, even second to the end, haven't really come through. And we were all about JOK last year, but his sophomore year hasn't been very good. And some of these guys that are now on that 3-year grading period, these later round picks where you really make your money and you really make your team, haven't come through. It seems like analytics that they use, whatever numbers they're using, those are the numbers that are successful with other teams because they have different talent. They're going based off of the averages in the NFL, not what actually works for their team. I just don't understand why guys continue to come into this organization and want to act like they're smarter than everybody else instead of just doing what is right there in front of you.
Well, what is remarkable too, Kevin, is that they're using analytics. And Pro Football Focus will tell you is that our defensive tackles are having an awful year, awful year, and yet they're not going to sign Dominican Sue. They're not going to do other things. And okay, fine, but it's like Jordan Elliott. Sure, he's a nice kid. He's not playing well. The kid Brian we got from Jacksonville, he's not playing well. Like some of these things are just very clear and obvious.
No,
and I just can't explain it. I mean, look, nothing against the guy. Anthony Schwartz is not a good draft pick. It's not going to work out.
He's a track guy.
We've seen Greg Little. We've seen this before. Like we know. And it's like, I just put my head down when it's like, I know people were like, oh, but this is just a preseason. Schwartz won't be playing. I'm like, we'll see. But Schwartz has been out there a little bit, and that's not good. That's not what you want to see as a fan. And, there's just been a lot of that this year where, to your point, they've been relying on their own analytics, but yet the Pro Football Focus stats, which I would assume they're similar, have been saying how badly some of these players have been playing. I don't know. It's been a very big mystery. They definitely dug their heels in, and boy, how annoying are the Knicks right now. Bronson going off. But I just feel like, I just hope that some emotion gets in this game because this is still a very important game. As an 80s kid, I don't like the Bengals. I know they're not like the other two teams, but they really have stuck in my craw over the years. And, I would like to see them take it to them and win this game. And I playoffs aside, I think I'm beyond that. Let's just win a game. Let's get some emotion back in the city and this town. And then we'll talk about playoffs and other things because to your other guys' point, I mean, I'm done with this. I'm very down on the draft. Even if they had a first round pick, I'm like, I don't want to talk about the draft. I want to talk about like, oh, Kareem Hunt's getting a fourth round pick. Great. So I get to look up Mississippi Valley State players now and check out like I just don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I just want to talk about here and today and win. And it's sad because I think obviously the biggest player in this is the Deshaun Watson thing, which is definitely divided the fan base. Anybody could tell you that from afar. So because of that, I think it's been a very odd, very, very, very odd Brown season.